Okay, so today I'm going to be doing a quick tutorial on how to make a quick, easy, and most importantly, affordable diaper cover. Instead of using PUL, which most diapers are made out of, a good alternative or cheap alternative to that could be shower curtain. So I got just this cheap shower curtain. This is actually a liner, but I think it'll work the same. Anyway, if you possibly can, I would try to get PVC free, but I got this at the Dollar Tree, so there weren't very many options, and yeah, this is what I grabbed. This is $1, and you will have more than enough shower curtain to make all of the covers that you need. I don't know how long they'll last, but I think that they would be a good temporary fix for a while, and I think that if you wash them gently and don't put them in the dryer, they should last you for a while. So anyway, I have already cut my two pieces that I need for the cover. I have a diaper pattern, a one-size diaper pattern available in the link below. But this is not going to be a one size since it's made with shower curtain, which is likely a little weaker than PUL. I'm not going to put a whole bunch of snaps in it. I'm actually going to just make this a large, and I'm going to add velcro to it instead. You could probably put snaps in it just fine if you use 3 layers for support, but for this particular tutorial I'm just going to use velcro. So anyway, okay, getting on with it. Go ahead and open up your shower curtain and cut out 2 pieces exactly the same. And then what we're going to do from here is we're just going to sew all the way around the diaper cover, starting from at the top right here. Let me pull it down just a tad. So we're going to start here. We're going to go all the way around and come back, probably leave about 3 inches or so, give or take a little. Okay, so I have now sewn all the way around, started here, went all the way around. I tried to leave about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, give or take a little, but I was going a little fast, which is fine. And you can see there's quite a bit of extra hanging off here, especially around the tab. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my scissors and I'm just going to trim it up a little bit, especially around the curves. That'll make it easier for you when you go to turn it right side in or right side out, or however you want to say it. Okay, you can go all the way around the diaper if you want, but I'm kind of impatient, so I'm just gonna do the tabs and the tab panel area right here where the turns are the most dramatic. Just like that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is flip it. So you're going to open this little hole, and depending on how big you made it, I probably should have made mine a little wider, but I'm used to sewing with PUL, so I made mine a little too narrow. I think I made mine about 2 inches. Anyway, you're just going to flip the whole thing. You're basically just shoving all of the shower curtain into that hole that you just made, or that you left the hole opening I sure hope I'm making sense. It makes perfect sense in my mind, but I swear when I try to explain it, it doesn't sound like it makes any sense at all. Okay. So this is a little tedious. It takes a little bit of time, but you want to make sure all of your tabs are pushed out. On both sides. Okay. Well, we're almost done. Now, I will say if you can avoid this particular liner, to try not to get this one because it has a pretty weird smell. You know that plasticky smell? This one has that plasticky smell. I'm sure it'll go away once it's washed, but if you're sensitive to smells, like I am, I smell everything, then you might want to avoid this particular brand anyway. So once you have it all flipped out and you're ready to move on to the next step. Now, because mine is see-through, it's probably not going to be the most pretty thing in the world, but it'll function once it's completed. So, our next step is going to be putting the elastic in the legs and the elastic in the back. Oh, and I just want to say real quick, this shower curtain is made out of vinyl, and technically the Gerber pull-up training pants that you can buy at Walmart are made from vinyl too, so using vinyl shower curtain isn't really going out of the norm for waterproof diaper covers. I think it's a good alternative to PUL if you're in a bind and you need something waterproof that you can make yourself that doesn't cost an arm and a leg. So, yeah. On to the elastic. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to make casings for the elastic to go in. I'm going to measure probably about, I would say 5.5 inches from the first tab, and that's where the elastic casing is gonna start. In my regular diapers, I usually go over to about, yeah. Okay, so let's go with 5 inches. I'm sorry. We'll go with about 5 inches. My 5 has disappeared on here, so I'm feeling a little lost. I have a ruler on my sewing machine, but I use it so often it's kind of rubbed off. So we'll do 5 inches. Okay, and you can make the width of the casing to match whatever elastic you have. I'm just going to use this cheapy elastic that I bought at Walmart. I think I got a whole bunch of it for $2 or $3, and I still have tons of it, and I've been using it for random projects. So I'm sure you could go to Walmart and probably spend about $10 and get enough shower curtain and elastic and velcro. I also got my velcro at Walmart. You could probably get all of it for about $10 and be able to make enough covers for your whole stash. Okay, so I lost my train of thought. Sorry. What I was saying is you can make the width of your casing to about the same size as your elastic. I usually, in my normal diapers, my elastic is a little bit wider, but it doesn't really matter. So instead of making really wide casing like I would for this elastic, I'm going to make it a little bit less wide. Just going to make it a little bit smaller. You don't want it too tight because it'll be too hard for the elastic to feed through, but you don't want it to be too wide either because then you're going to be too far down in the diaper. So, you know, I wouldn't say any more than 1/2 inch for the width, unless you have some really big elastic. Okay, and I didn't mark the stopping point for the other side, so I'm just gonna kind of guesstimate here. And of course, you're welcome to measure if you want things to be exact. So guess on that, and that looks about right, close enough anyway. Okay, so for this leg elastic, I usually measure down about 3.5 inches. And that's where I put the beginning of the casing, so kind of doing another guesstimation here. I think that looks about right. So we'll start casing there. And try to make sure, you do a very good job, try to make sure your seam is all the way to the outside, so you're getting the full width of whatever diaper pattern you used, so that it's not too narrow. See, I'm still having to push out the fabric because I was lazy and didn't do it right. I know not everybody owns a seam ripper, but this is a really easy trick to pulling out your seam allowance. I just kind of put it in between the threads and pull it out a little bit, and it works really well. Okay, so for this, I usually stop my casing about 4 inches from the top. So I'm probably going to stop about right here. Now, these measurements that I'm giving are not live or die. You can make them a little less or a little longer or whatever. There's really no right or wrong answer. Whatever you want to do is going to work just fine. And if you make something that you end up not liking, well, then you can just try again and, you know, go off of your previous diaper and make it a little better. Okay, so I'm just kind of measuring. I'm just gonna eyeball it and start my casing from here. Like I said, these are not going to be perfect. They're not going to be super fancy. But if you're really in a bind and a pinch, then I think these will work really well. I'm just kind of measuring it again. I took my seam ripper from about the bottom to about the red little ball that's on there. So about right there. You know, if you do have the money to buy PUL, then that's great. I would suggest to do that. But if you don't, then I think that these would work really well. Okay, now I'm going to do the elastic real quick. So for the elastic, for the back, I'm going to just estimate. I'm going to put the end of the elastic just past the stitch of the casing. So pretending like it's tacked down right there, I'm just going to stretch this out. And make sure you have a good stretch. Give a little extra, and then wherever my thumb stops, had to reach over and get the scissors. That's where I'm going to cut it. So now I have my back elastic, and then I'm going to turn it and do the same for the leg elastics. Go a little past the stitch, stretch it all the way across, give just a tad of extra, maybe half an inch extra because you'd rather it be too long than too short. Cut it, and I'm just gonna copy that one and cut that one. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is get a safety pin. I've got one buried over here somewhere, I'm sure of it. Okay, I usually work with a bigger safety pin, but my children love to laugh at me and run off with my stuff, so I have a baby, but it will do fine for this demonstration. Okay, so we're going to take the safety pin and the elastic. I'm going to put it through the tip of the elastic, and then we're going to feed it through, and I always do the back first because it's furthest away, and I just would rather get that one done. It's a little time consuming and might be difficult at first until you get the hang of it, but just kind of feed it through like a little inchworm and get all the way back to the elastic casing. And then you start feeding it through the casing. Okay, when you're feeding it through, make sure you don't pull it too far past, because then you'll have to go all the way back around and do it all over again. I don't know if it shows up on video, but don't mind my nail. It's not dirty. My fingernail, it looks black, but it was squished by my 8-year-old. She squished it in the snap press. So it's bruised and it's just now growing out. I promise my nails are not disgusting. Okay, so once it gets, probably, pull that back just a little bit, maybe about 1/4 of an inch or so. You just want a good amount of room to be able to sew it down and it not pull through. So my end is here, and I'm going to sew down right here. So I'm going to go ahead and let's see. I usually go back and forth about 4 times. I go forward, backwards, right on the elastic, just to make sure that it's tacked down really well. That's what it should look like. I'm going to go ahead and continue to inchworm it through to the other side. And this part might get a little tricky. I've never actually made a cover out of shower curtain before, so this is a little new to me. But I usually just kind of work my way up with my fingers so that I can grab the safety pin. And I just kind of stretch it through and pull it out so that I can grab a hold of it. Take it off. Okay, and then I'm going to let it go. But I'm going to pinch the back of it so that it doesn't pull all the way through, because you don't want it to snap all the way back, because then you'll have some loose elastic that you basically can't do anything with. You'd have to undo the other side and take it all out. Okay, so now I have this big long piece of elastic, and what I usually do is just kind of give it a feel and see if I think it's too tight or too loose. I think this is a little too light, or that's a combination of both. What I meant to say was I think this is too tight, so I'm going to loosen it a little. So I'm going to just let a little bit go and then pull it again, and just a tad more. I think it's still too tight, and I think that's better. You don't want it to be too tight where it barely pulls, but you don't want it to be super loose where it doesn't have any elasticity. So I think that's a good happy medium, so that's what I'm going to go with. And it all really depends on what kind of elastic you use. Some elastic is tighter, some's looser. So they're all going to work a little differently. Okay, so the back of the elastic is done. And you can see that there's a little bit of extra elastic in the back. You wouldn't be able to see this if it wasn't see-through, but if you do happen to have a see-through shower curtain, you can always just reach in and snip that off. I'm just going to leave it for time problems. And then I'm going to go ahead and get the next elastic, put the safety pin through, and feed that one through. This spot right here might be a little challenging just because you kind of have to make a U-turn. But once you get past that first string right there, you really should just be able to pull it through and start working down. And we'll reach in and grab the safety pin as soon as it starts sticking out. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the back elastic. I'm going to hold onto this side really tight, grab it from here, and just kind of give it a little elasticity test. And I think that this is probably about good right where it is. So I'm going to sew that down. And then that side's done. Now, since this little piece is, you can see it's sticking out, I'm going to go ahead and snip that off just because it's easy to get to. Okay, and then last elastic, go ahead and do that to the other side. Okay, so now we're done with the elastic. Our next step is going to be putting the Velcro on. Okay, I haven't bought Velcro in quite a while, so I'm just using a little bit of what I have left over from a long time ago that I bought at Walmart. Go ahead and snip that off just because it was getting on my nerves and bugging me. Okay, so I would normally, for a large diaper, I would use a little bit wider Velcro, but since this is what I have, this is what I'll use. So I'm just gonna kind of guesstimate and see how long I need it, and then cut it. Right there. Now if I really, really, really wanted to, I could take another strip and sew the two together to make a wider piece of Velcro across the belly panel, but I'm not actually going to use this cover, so I'm not going to do that. But if that's something that you would want to do, then you could definitely do it and it would work just the same as a wider piece. Usually I think I use 1.5 inches. Well, I don't use Velcro anymore, but when I did use Velcro, it was basically double this. So anyway, okay, so I'm going to try to even it out. You don't want it too far up, you don't want it too far down, you want to kind of get it just right in the middle. Oops, sorry. And then you can either zigzag or straight stitch. I'm gonna do a a short, long. So it's going to be short together, but the stitches are going to be a little bit longer. And I'm going to go all the way around this velcro. Now make sure if you do get the velcro at Walmart, you don't get the kind with the sticky back, because that will gum up your needle, and I did that on accident once and it was much harder to work with. So we have the little front belly panel sewn on. Now we need to do the tabs. Okay. Like I said, I'm just kind of using the Velcro that I have left over from other various projects a long time ago. And I have this really thick hook part that I'm actually just going to cut and use this way. So I'm going to cut a strip to match the width of this. I'm just going to cut it. Oops, actually, let me push the button on my machine. I'm just going to cut it like that to get it about the same width as the belly panel, and then I'll just double that. Okay. And then these are the two tabs that I will sew onto these are the two tabs that are the two pieces that I'll sew onto the tabs. So I'll probably just kind of center it. And there's not really a right or wrong way to do this. There's no exact science. Now I gotta reset my sewing machine. Okay. I'm just gonna do another zigzag stitch. Okay, and a lot of Velcro diapers have an X, just a straight stitch X across the tabs for more support. You can do that if you want. I'm not going to do that on this particular diaper, but if you think it will help reinforce it, you are more than welcome to do so. So now we have one tab done, and I'm going to put the other on. Okay. So now we have the Velcro tabs on, the Velcro panel on. The last thing that we could do, we probably should go ahead and close up this gap. So start sewing from here and go all the way around. You can also do that to the tabs if you want a nicer look. You can do a straight stitch. I'm probably just going to leave the tabs, but I will go ahead and do a quick straight belly stitch around the panel to close that hole up. Okay. You just want to make sure that both pieces are kind of folded over. No, nothing perfect, just enough to where you can close the gap up. Sew over it. And as you can tell, this is not the prettiest cover in the world. Thankfully, we're not looking for pretty, we're looking for functional. Okay. And that is done. So our little gap is closed up. Everything's put on. Our next step would probably be to just clip off the little strings. If you have any strings remaining, I always have little extra threads that need to be clipped off. So I will go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, I snipped off all the little strings, or, well, apparently not all of them. Most of them, anyway. Or I thought most of them. Apparently I missed half of them. Anyway, you get the point. They're all snipped off. You got your elastic. You got your Velcro. Like I said, if you have snaps, even just the sew-on kind, if you want to attempt to put them on here, it might be okay. I would put at least one more or two more layers of shower curtain where the snaps are for support, just because you don't want it to rip through the whole cover and then your whole cover be ruined. But I think that this will be a quick, easy fix for someone who's on a budget and you need something waterproof. You need a waterproof cover for your diapers. I can't promise that this is going to last for a long time. I would think that this is a temporary fix. I can't give you a good estimate on time, but if you I would hand wash it gently and obviously not dry it in the dryer, and I think it would last for a decent amount of time. So anyway, I hope this video tutorial helped you out, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me and I will answer them as soon as possible. Thanks for watching.